revolution. Rise up and unite. Woo! Rise up.
Hi, Francesca.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Mom. You can call me Mom.
Coffee with Cindy.
Coffee with Cindy. I got my boss lady mug.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
You are a boss lady.
Well, thank you for being on this. It's so funny because being my daughter, you were one of the hardest ones to get scheduled with your schedule.
Well, I'm glad we could finally make it work. Thanks
I
for
know.
fitting me in.
I know. I tried to get you to do it on Christmas Day, and you're like, absolutely
It was
not.
Christmas Day. But I wanted to tell you, I think it's cool, obviously, that you're doing this whole series, but because, you know, you're having so many different perspectives come on.
Yeah.
So for me, like, my perspective is going to be so different than a lot of the guests you've had on because, you know, I was just telling my vlog that I am not, you know, where I want to be, like, end all be all. This is not like as successful as I want to become. And I think it's cool that you know, still find value in interviewing people that are on their way. And like, you still want to hear the process of, you know, people that are, you know, growing towards success, but aren't all the way there yet. So thank you for including me.
Oh, thank you, honey. I think that it's important that we all learn from each other. And something I learned a long time ago is just to surrender and know that I don't know it all. And I have a lot to learn. And every day I learn from you every day. I said that yesterday on a podcast. Like, I never had mentors, really, female mentors throughout my career. But I look at you and your sister and grandma as mentors to me now. So thank you for that.
Me too.
So I want to start with 2019. Oh my gosh. What a big year for you.
That was a big year. Everything really happened in that year. And I feel like I remember always being in the car with you, driving to school or driving wherever, and you being like, this is your year. I feel it. This is your year. And you were always wrong. It was never my year. And finally my year came, and what a whirlwind. It was such a beautiful, like, full, literally packed with events year, you know?
Yeah. It's like, share some of those successes you had in 2019.
Okay. So if you don't know who I am at all, I have basically kind of a social media following. I have, you know, a presence on YouTube and Instagram. And then I started a podcast in 2019, just like you.
Yep.
And I started a clothing line called Full of Joy. My podcast is also called Full of Joy. I launched a preset that you can use on your Instagram. And then I got married to the love of my life. And we moved in together. And I faced a lot of fears. And I'm killing it. And I'm crushing it. And I can't wait for 2020 to keep crushing it.
So 2 things pop up. Full of Joy. Full of Joy. Podcast, merch. Your dog is named Joy. So tell me a little bit about the meaning behind joy for you.
Yeah. So I went through a time where I had a really big lack of joy in my life. And I didn't even know it. I literally didn't even know that joy was a thing. Didn't know having like a constant joy in my life was an option. And that went on for like 5 or 6 years. I just felt just lack, and I didn't feel like fullness in my life. And I felt like I was missing out on, you know, full days. And I felt like this can't be it. Like, this can't be how life is. And so much was going on. And if you want to hear like a lot about that, I share so much of that. I share like the details and like the nitty gritty of that story on my podcast. But so much was going on, and there was so much doubt and lack and fear going on in my life. And it took a lot of healing mentally and physically to get through that. But, you know, I heard this saying that said, look at the nations, watch and be amazed, for I will do something in your days that you wouldn't believe even if you were told. And I think that was a Bible verse, and I had that in my room. Do you remember that? I had that
I
little
remember
sign
when
in
you
my
made
room.
that picture. You
Yeah.
painted it, right? Yeah.
I painted it with lipstick and I hung it in my room because I thought that was so beautiful during that time in my life. So I always looked at that and I was like, look at the nations, watch and be amazed. For I will do something in your days you wouldn't believe even if you were told. And I was like, even if I were told, like, what could that be? Like, I have no idea. Like, I can't even think that big to how beautiful this something could be. And years went by and years went by and I was like, what is that? Like, I feel like I am missing that. Like, I know that is real. I know that is a truth for me that is coming from my life, but I can't find that. What is that? And I got through that season of lack and doubt and scariness. And slowly stepped into a season of fullness, and I found more joy every day, and my days were becoming more filled, and my days were able to be filled with more life and just full. And I was like, what is this? Like, I've never lived days where I can feel so full and happy and strong and hopeful. Like, I've never lived days like that. So I was like, how do I describe this? Like, what is this happiness and like pleasure that I'm feeling? And I was like, I think this is joy. Like, I never felt joy like this. And I was like, this has got to be it. This is that thing that I couldn't imagine. This is that thing I've never felt before. And it was joy. So now I have really stepped into this, like fully got into this season of joy, and it's so beautiful. So I was like, this, transformation from lack to days filled with hope and days filled with joy just totally transformed my life. So I was like, I have to share this, like whatever this is for me, like this totally transformed me and transformed my mind and my mindset and my life and my days. And I was like, I have to share this. So I was like, what do I do? So I started sharing it on my YouTube channel, and I got a lot of good feedback from that. So I was like, I feel like I have to dive into this. I feel like I have to become more vulnerable. And I feel like this is something that could really benefit a lot of women. And I was like, I think we have to start this podcast. So you starting your podcast and, just seeing you step into something totally new, I was like, okay, if my mom can do this, I can do this,
There you go.
And, that's how I am with Alex too, with starting my YouTube channel. Like, okay, if you guys can do this, like, so can I. And I think it's so beautiful that we all share our lives in such different ways, and people can see value in all three of us in such different ways. But yeah, so I started Full of Joy podcast and really dive into a lot of that story and, how I find joy and how I keep the joy in my days, because I don't want it to end. And that was something else that I learned, is that joy does not end. And I haven't even seen the full amount of joy that I can see in my days. So yeah, so I was like, okay, what else can I do? So I was like, maybe I should have clothes that talk about joy. So I started Full of Joy merch, and literally there's like sweatshirts that say joy on them, and it's just so beautiful. And seeing the feedback from women where, they're like, oh my gosh, I heard on the podcast you say that like joy will come, and like I shared that with my husband and we're so hopeful now. And it's just so beautiful. And I'm just so thankful for this season that I was able to get through, and then the season that I was able to step into, this season of joy. So I'm thankful that I can share it with more people on your podcast today.
I know, and they need to listen to your podcast, because I think that is a struggle for a lot of people. There's anxiety or depression, and a lot of times this time of year can do it, but I know health can bring on some of that. And so I encourage people to go over and watch your channel and listen to your podcast, because it has helped a lot of people, and I hear it all the time. So
Thank you.
Thank you for being open and transparent with that, because that's hard when you go through something like that and you've learned to open yourself up to share what you've been through. That's tough. And so I commend you for your courage on that.
Thanks.
Yes. Crushed it. I noticed, that was your word. I noticed a big change in your, I want to say, business skills, organization. I've told you this over and over. I noticed a big change in you in 2019 where it was very intentional. You were just, I have this channel and I'm sharing this. It was intentional. So tell me that process and what changed.
So I feel like I have to give a lot of credit to Brett. So Brett is my husband, and he and I think completely in opposite ways. He is so organized and so detailed and so thoughtful and just has a beautiful heart and a beautiful mind. But being married to him, like, I have gained so much from being married to him. Like, I didn't even know that I was going to receive, all of Brett's benefits when I got married to him. But literally in the 6 months that we've been married, I launched a podcast, launched Preset, launched a clothing line, and just have become
And got married.
and more fulfilled. So having, a supporter like that and having someone who's literally always willing to help me do anything in my days, whether it's hanging something or launching a business, something, he's just is so helpful, and he loves to do research, and that really helps me because for me, like, it probably was just a lack of confidence or, just like more so just I'm content where I'm at, and like I'm like, well, this is good enough for me, but Brett is like, let's do this, like, let's fill this life, let's do anything we want to do. So having that confidence boost and having that support in him, helped me to think bigger and go for it. And yeah, just having his support and having someone so smart and someone just take such an interest in my life and my dreams, that is what really changed my 2019. So it really wasn't a lot of me. It was a lot of Brett filling me up.
Right. But you listening, right?
Yeah.
You got to take that
I'll
in.
take his good advice.
Yeah, take that advice. So we talked about, with this series, we are asking successful people to share 5-10 things that they feel have been instrumental in their success. And I wondered if you have some of those that you would be willing to share with us.
Yes. So I've listened, I think when we're filming this, I've listened to 2 of the other interviews you've done. So I'm so excited to hear the rest of them.
Thank you.
Hear what other people have to say. It's so interesting to hear like how different they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a few that I thought of. So yeah, to give some context, I have a podcast, I have a YouTube channel and Instagram, and then some ways you can access me through like clothes and a preset and stuff. So being that I make all this content, I wanted to, kind of follow a schedule. So that was my first one, is creating a content schedule and kind of like a template to follow every single day, so that I can have a consistent posting schedule so that people always see my face, because I feel like right when people stop seeing your face all the time, like, they're going to forget and they're going to lose interest, which I totally understand. So I wanted to create a way where I could always give access to me and my value in my life, without sacrificing my, mental health and my freedom throughout my days. And I didn't want to be a slave to posting or a slave to my phone or checking anything. So I was like, there's got to be a way where I can consistently put out content and, give people what they want and engage and get to know my followers, but not do it all the time.
Right.
So Monday through Friday, I have a schedule and I just follow that. So I have a day where I create content. I have a day where I post content. I have different days for photo shoots, different days for filming, and, different days for even research days, and kind of days to take the day and like work, on my business instead of just in my business. So having a, content posting schedule to help me like have consistent things to put out has been one of my top things, because I want to be able to, have longevity in this. I want to be able to do this for a long time and not burn myself out. And being in such a transformative year of my life and time of my life, I have so much to share, like about getting married and about joy and all these new business things I've started. Like, I have so much I want to share. So I'm like, okay, how can we spread this out and do it right? And, just really get like my heart across and get my point across. So yeah, following that schedule has helped me stay organized.
Do you write out what content you're going to share on each of those days, or is it just like filming day, thinking day, or do you kind of have the content already pre-planned as well?
It's really pre-planned. It's very organized. I have like share, this white t-shirt and black jeans outfit post at
Wow.
10 a.m. on Thursday morning. You know what I
I
mean?
love it. Yeah.
Otherwise, there's so much, like I said, there's so much going on, and I don't want things to get lost. And like, if I do have this beautiful photo shoot, I don't want to have that time wasted and not get that picture out there or
Yeah.
whatever it is. So yeah, I have to stay very organized.
I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my number 2, I was actually asking Brett like what he thought my top 10 things were. And this was one that we were talking about together. And he said that I'm really good at not getting too high on praise or too low on hate. And that's
a big
hard.
one.
Yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
one. And that was hard for me to get to that point in this journey. So, being that I have content that goes out to anyone in the world, obviously you're going to get a lot of praise or a lot of hate. And I think that, as just a normal, average human being, 25-year-old woman, like I would easily tend to focus more on the hate and want to defend myself or whatever it may be. And like, it's hard being misunderstood, especially when I'm trying to really share, my heart. But, even though like the praise is more fun to read and it's better to read, like humans aren't supposed to, be able to intake so much praise or so much hate. Like either of it is not good for your mental health or your ego or, even your creativity. So yeah, I try to stay neutral, and any, honest negative feedback that I get, I have started to ask like, what about it they didn't like? What about it they can change? Because the followers that I do have, whether they don't like me or not, I want, not that I have to win them over, but I want them to stay. I want my followers to stay engaged. I want them to stay here with me and grow with me. So, if someone is like, I really liked your old content better than your new content, I'm going to ask why. Like, what about it can I bring into this part of my life? Like, if you liked my content when I lived at home with you, like, what about that did you like? Because I can never go back. Hopefully never go back.
You can always come back. Bring the whole family.
Yeah. Just a weekend at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've kind of been, trying to help myself realize that like, even if it is sucky to read, negative criticism and negative feedback can be really helpful to the growth of my channel. And then same thing with positive feedback, like too, I try to reassure my followers, like, not that I get so much praise, but if someone is like, you are just the most genuine, you're the best, blah, 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 whatever it is, like, no, I'm not. I'm not always this joyful girl I talk about, I'm not always this like go-getter.
Right.
So yeah, I try to just let my followers know that I'm so real, and this is just the honest truth of it. I
love that. I hear so many people talk about how to handle the haters, the negativity. And in my mind, I always think hurt people hurt, right?
For sure.
And it's hard to love others if you're not loving yourself. But I like your perspective on the highs too and the praise, because having been around salespeople 30 years, they're so humble as they're building, but sometimes once they've built, they do kind of become a little bit different in their personality. And then you start to see the sales decrease again. They get humble and it increases. So I love that you're being aware of the highs and the lows. So that's so really good advice.
Thanks. Yeah. Because, even in your normal day-to-day life, like you guys as my family and my new in-laws, like they're just the most supportive. I just have the most supportive family members. But even you guys, like I know you support me, but you're not like, you're the best, like, so having like real life support is so different than online support, because, people only see a little bit of the story. They only see a 10-minute vlog out of like a whole week. So trying to remain like as honest and real with yourself is just as important as remaining honest and real with your followers.
Yeah, I love that. Great advice.
Thanks. My third one.
What else? Yeah, number 3.
Number 3 is that, so to create content, I have to have a message that I want to share. And so I'm really confident in that message that I'm sharing, and that message is joy. But it took me a long time to find that message. So, like when I started my YouTube channel and started posting on social media, I was living at home with you, and I was like doing a lot of thrifting and doing a lot of DIYs, and I kind of had to get through that like season of trying out different things on my channel to find what actually fills me up and what actually I like feel like I need to share and want to share with the world. So yeah, I'm confident that this message that I'm sharing of joy on my podcast and on my YouTube and everything, like I'm confident that that is my message to share. That was given to me, and this whole journey to get there was given to me so that I can learn from it, so that I can be the one that gets to speak it into the world. And even if I experience joy in a different way than you would or someone else would, my experience with it is still valuable and so transformative to me in my life. And if someone can relate to that, that's beautiful. Or if not, at least someone will hopefully hear the word joy today and be like, wait, I want joy, So I'm confident in that message where, it took me like 4 years of making content about DIYs and thrifting and whatever else it may be to figure out that's not filling me up. Like this message of joy is what I have to share. And, fun content, comes from that, but also comes along with that in, outfit hauls or Amazon hauls or whatever it is. But having this confidence in that this is my message and I get to share it, that's really helped me, to be creative and to, think bigger.
That's amazing. And it's the best. It's so true though, because in one of the interviews, I interview Michelle Berry Franco, who is a coach for public speaking and helps people prepare for their TED Talks. And that is really kind of what she says in helping people develop public speaking skills is you have to gain that clarity with your message. Mm-hmm. It's lucky that you discovered it at 25. Some people it's 55. Some people it's, later. But that you've found what your message is does kind of make everything fall into place. I don't want to say easier, but with more clarity, which way to focus. And I like that you shared as you were trying to figure out your message, you just kept going forward, taking those steps, because inaction is where you'll get those answers. Right? So,
amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's number 4?
Number 4, I kind of already touched on this, but I learned this from Brett, and that is that he takes research days. And I remember like before we lived together, we'd be texting or whatever, and I'd be working at home and he works at home as well. And, we'd be saying like, what are you doing today? And he's like, oh, I'm going to have research day. And I was like, wait, you're not working today? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, there's so much I want to research. And whether that is about, actual his business or his work, or like just something he's interested in, like research days are so good for creativity and for your mental health. And, in this life, there are so many things that you can be interested in and so many things you wonder about. So just giving yourself the time to take a research day and look into growing your business or look into how to launch a podcast, or, even if it's taking like a part of your work day. I was like, I didn't know you could do that. So I have started to have research days, and they're so fun. And, it's just fun for us to talk about like the new things that we were researching. And typically like right now in this season of our life, we're researching houses and we're researching, launching a clothing line. How do you sell things online? And it's just so fun to be able to research these things together and launch these things together. And yeah, just being able to take the time to put into your business instead of just, working on your day-to-day tasks that you always have to get done, taking the time to be like, okay, what could we grow here? What can I look into that I haven't thought about before? What is my competition doing? How do they do that so good? How can I do that? So yeah, taking
that's important.
Search.
That's so important. I think a lot of people feel they just have to grind every day, and taking that time to research is key. But also, I know I've shared this story with you several times, but when you were like 5th or 6th grade, you had your to-do list, you know what I'm going to say, right? And on there you had like everything kind of mapped out with your timing, and you had in there like an hour or 2 hours for thinking. And I love, like, I learned from you at that age because I was like, Frankie, what's this thinking? You're like, I have to make time to think, Mom. So
What was I thinking about?
I don't know, probably sixth grade. Who knows? But
That's cute.
maybe you weren't aware you were doing that, but you've done that for a long time. You didn't call it research day, you called it thinking time.
Yeah. That's cute.
That is cute.
Number 5 is that I take breaks. I love a good break. So I think, with any job, but with me, I've learned that because I work at home, I can easily work from like 8 to 8 or whatever. And because I love it, I love doing what I do, and I love editing and, creating content and talking with my followers and engaging and stuff. But I love a good break. So what I do is, if I do need to work that much, like throughout the week, I will schedule like, okay, Thursday is my day to go get my nails done. Thursday is my day to go chill, like in bed. Thursday is my day to catch up on Netflix or whatever it is. And then, I try to pre-film or I'll pre-record things, just because I know that with how much I love to work and how exciting this time of my life is, I know I could just go nonstop and then I'll be forced to take a break and get sick or whatever. So
Right.
I love to schedule, like, I'll pre-film for a month so that the next month I have time to not worry about that. That's all done. I can take a break if I want. I can work on something new if I want. I can research new cameras or like whatever it is. Like, I need to schedule time for breaks. Otherwise, I will not take them, or I'll be forced to take them.
That's important. I think that kind of goes along with self-care, right? And taking care of yourself. And I think you're very good at that with your exercise, your eating habits, your downtime, your uptime. How do you fit in all the self-care? Because being on camera a lot, you really do have to take care of yourself, take care of your skin, take care of your body. So share a little bit on that and your self-care routine.
Totally. So one of my favorite books is by Cameron Diaz, and it's called The Body Book. And I listen to it on Audible. So I don't, I feel like if I loved to like physically read a book, I would make the time for it, but I don't make the time to read. So I listen to it on Audible. So I listen to it while I'm working out or driving or whatever. And it was such a good book. I recommend it so much. And it's all about nutrition and how your body breaks down food, and how literally, like, when you're chewing, your body will make this compound or something that helps to digest food, like just by chewing it. So like, just like learning about how my body works and how I can be like filled with nutrition to be my best. That kind of helped me learn like how important it is to have self-care and to take care of myself, for myself and for my job, but also my husband and my future family and whatever it is. But yeah, so I kind of make it work for me. So like I said, like, I have Audible so I can learn about how to take care of myself in that way. And Brett and I will make a menu for the week, and like we have fun like figuring that out together. And I make all our meals at home. So it's, I love to be in the kitchen, and I love to like cook for Brett or whatever. And so, yeah, I do my self-care in ways that work for me, and that's how I fit it into my schedule. And if I find something that I love, like Orange Theory is a workout I've been doing lately, if I find something that I love, like, I just make it, a priority for me. I make it important for me. And like, Brett respects that, and he's like, yeah, go get it, girl, So yeah, I try not to feel guilty about wanting to take time to do those things for me, because the result of that is going to make me a better wife and a better, more valuable person to have online, and just make my life more full.
Yeah. And we miss you living at home, because we always had great home cooked meals when you were at home.
Probably burnt
we missed
them.
that. No, they were good. So
that was a fun time in my life. I remember that too.
Yeah.
My number 6 is asking for help. So like I said, Brett's a really big help, but there are so many things that I don't know, and there's so many things that I'm not good at or that I don't, enjoy doing. So I will have, I want to be able to be in a position where I can have someone on my team that can do those things for me and help me learn about those things. And like, for example, I'm not a numbers person. I've never really been into like researching money or anything like that. It's just never been something that I've been comfortable with. And like, I'll make money. I'll like learn how to make a lot of money, but like, then what? I don't know what, So marrying Brett, he's an accountant. So he's so interested in money and is so interested in helping me like organize everything. And he helps me with like invoices, and like, he's always like, hey, this is due. Hey, this is due. Your invoice is due. Oh, we're going to get paid, So, like, kind of passing that along to him, he graciously does that for us. That's been really helpful to me, because then it's just something where I know like the best of the best is handling that for me, and I don't have to worry about it, and I can use that brain power towards something else. And then, in order to grow my business more, I was spending a lot of time editing my videos, and I wanted them to look cool, and I was just taking too much time like learning how to make them look good, and they weren't even turning out how I really wanted them to be. So I was like, this is maybe just not my thing, and I would like to like put more energy into creating this content instead of just editing it. So I hired an editor, and that has been the best thing I've ever done. And he doesn't edit all of my videos, but a really good chunk of them. And it's been the best thing because I don't have to, use my brain power to be like, okay, how do I edit this? And I make it really easy on him. And like, while I'm filming, I'll be like, okay, take this part out and use this as a thumbnail and start this and then add it with this clip. And yeah, so it's just more fun for me to be creative in the ways that I enjoy being creative, instead of like taking my time to learn all these new things. But that being said, like, I like to be like the one in charge of myself in my business, and I like it to be done my way. So there are things that, I have learned and things that I still want to learn, so that I can be the one to make the decisions, and I can be the one, just to be in charge. Because at the end of the day, it's my business, it's my baby, it's
right.
My heart that I put into this to start it and get it to where it's going.
That it is. And that's a really misstep a lot of times with a business, is delegating, hiring out.
Mm-hmm.
So many people think, I've said this so many times, but, I have to make a certain amount before I can hire people. And I always say, you make a lot more by hiring them, right?
Amen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's scary to do.
It is scary. So how did you kind of get in the mindset to get past, I do it all, to like, okay, I'm going to trust my baby with this piece of it?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just kind of had to do it.
Maybe just in pieces, little by little.
Yeah. And, as an example, with my editor, like what he stepped into is not what he's working on now. Like, I didn't have any systems in place. I didn't really follow a schedule because I did it all. It was all in my head, so now having someone that works for me and having someone that kind of relies on me, I'm like, I want to make this as easy for you as possible. So now we have systems. Now we share a Google Drive. Now there's schedules we follow and calendars we share. And now my system is so much better when there is someone else than it was when it was just me. So
wow,
that was something
a really
I didn't
good
expect.
point.
But
yeah,
it's interesting.
That's a great point. So it's better now.
Mm-hmm.
So number 7.
Number 7 is knowing my value. So that kind of goes along with what we were just talking about, but I want to be able to know what I'm worth and know what my creativity and value will bring, so that I won't exhaust myself doing the other things I don't need to be doing. But then,
like what?
Like, taking time to edit when I could be taking that time to film, but then also knowing my value and being able to say yes and no to different opportunities. So, with being like an influencer, there's so many emails that I get every day, and like so many random spam emails, and, there could easily be more money sitting in my bank account right now. But since I know my message, and since I know like what I want to share, and I know, what my followers expect to hear from me, like it's easier for me to be like, yeah, that would be worth my time, and that would bring value to my channel, or what, that's just not going to work with me. Like, it doesn't really fit. So yeah, I know my value, and I know, like, apart from like my actual engagement and my actual like analytics and my numbers, I know like what my heart and what, my experiences will bring to this campaign or this sponsorship, or like how this will, really flow with the rest of my content. So yeah, I know when I want to say yes and when I want to say no. And sometimes it kind of sucks to turn stuff down, but I know that one door closes, another one opens.
Right. Long term, it's the better answer. Sometimes it's the best answer. We want to be yes people. I think we're just naturally wired to kind of be yes people. But learning how to say no is courageous. So
that is, even in personal life, not in business life, in personal life, like, yeah, like I want to have time for like my fun friend time and my family time, but yeah, it's interesting being able to say yes and no, like especially in real life scenarios, not just like over email.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We're on number 8.
Number 8, my tip, this is my favorite one, is that I have a happy and healthy relationship with my husband. And I haven't heard this podcast yet, but I know you interviewed Dr. Nazarian. And you were telling me about it behind the scenes. And you were saying that she was sharing that she was so thankful that she got married and they built their businesses together and, kind of did that together. And I feel like I'm kind of in the same, totally different, but kind of the same scenario, where, both of us, both Brett and I, are in different places already than where we were before we got married. And we've been able to really grow together. And like I said, I get so many benefits from being married to him. And our relationship is so happy and healthy. And we're just so happy. And obviously we're newlyweds, but we're just so happy. And having that, that support system and having the other half of me be such a good half, helps me to be more full of joy and helps me to share my message more. So yeah, it's having someone who is always going to support me 1,000,000,000% and always going to be encouraging me to keep going. That has, it encourages me to learn more and is always like, what are we doing wrong? How can we fix it? Like, what could we do better? So yeah, having the other half of me be so supportive and like ready to grow. And I don't know if it's like my Enneagram number or just my personality type, but I'm very content with where I'm at typically. And I used to not feel like I could really change it, but being through everything that I went through and now experiencing all these changes in just 1 year of my life, and half of that year because I'm married to Brett, experiencing all of that has helped me realize like there's so much, I could have such a big life.
I like that you shared that. And as a mom, something that Dad and I always looked for was that you and your sister both married men that weren't threatened by your success, by your beauty, by your potential, and they encouraged you and helped build you up. And I think that's important sometimes in relationships. So I'm glad that you brought this up. There is that struggle, and one doesn't want the other one to be more successful, or even with male and female, that can come into play. And so I think that you did find a really great husband and partner and someone to share life with that does build you up and believes in you. And I think your sister did the same thing, and I did the same thing with your dad. And I think you had a great role model with your dad in that way to see that, that is important, and it's sometimes a misstep. And you can have it all. Some people think, oh, there's no way. You have to pick one or the other. You can't, have a great family and a great career. And that was something when Grandma was growing up, she kind of believed, that was that era that, if you want to have a really strong family, you're not able to do a whole lot outside of the home. And obviously over the years that changed for her, and she provided good support for that. But that's a really good subject to bring up because it's important. It's not always talked about.
And why put limits on yourself without even realizing it, I'm sure.
Yeah. And bringing up Dr. Nazarian's interview again, it was interesting how she shared that sometimes we feel we just have to wait, right? Like I got to get my career, my business going, and then I could start dating and find that relationship and do it together. So glad you brought it up.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, number 9. This I couldn't think of 10. I thought of 9.
Oh, perfect. 9's good.
So this is the last one, and it's that I'm just really thankful for where I'm at, and that that gratitude and that thankfulness is something that I just started learning about like in the last few years of my life. But I'm able to really enjoy my days because I'm just so thankful for the things that fill them. Like I just can't believe the days that I get to live are these days. Like I just am so like thinking about Christmas with our family and just seeing like how much our family has grown with all the boys. And
I know, right?
Yeah, our days are just so filled in such a different way than they used to be filled. So yeah, I'm just so thankful. And I also like I said, I'm thankful for you for giving me an opportunity to be in this series when I'm not at the top of my success, hopefully. But I try not to put pressure on myself to get there very quickly. Like I want to get there, like, and I will do all the things that I can to get myself there and my family there. But I'm just so thankful for the journey that I've been on already. And I'm so thankful for the days that I get to live right now, right here in this part of my success, in this part of my life. I'm just so thankful. So having that thankfulness and being able to actually look at my days and be like, this is literally what I always hoped for, but couldn't even imagine. This is that thing I wouldn't believe even if I were told. Like I'm living in those days and that's not ending. Like I'm going to continue to live in days that I wouldn't believe even if I were told. So I think that's so beautiful. And that perspective really helps me to be so thankful and know that like any season that I'm in, it'll change and more joy will come and my life is going to continue to change. So I might as well just enjoy it.
Exactly. Well, I love that your last one is gratitude, and I've witnessed it so often with people. There's a gentleman that I work closely with right now, and he really made a life change this last year to become more gracious and more giving. And he done some pretty remarkable things for people that years ago, last year, well, 2018, he would have never thought of doing. And it made it changed his life entirely. He had his best year ever in his career with his family. And so it's just been fun to witness how gratitude can make such a difference. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, there's just so much good that can come that you just don't even know, that, like I said, like you just can't even imagine.
Right.
There's just so much good and so much hope that can come in your days. So I hope that that's one of the messages that people can take away from this episode of your podcast, that like joy will come and there's so much hope that can be filled in your days. So I hope that people get that.
Oh, I'm sure they will. You just exude it. So thanks for sharing that with us. 2 last questions. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you definitely would like to share?
I feel like I've been a pretty open book, but I am really curious to hear your answers to these questions. So will you be sharing your answers, and when will that be?
I will. At the end of the series, I'll give my top 10. So thank you.
Perfect.
And then you talked about the Cameron Diaz book. Is there any other book that has made a big impact in your life? I know that you love Audible and you love to hear the books read to you rather than reading, but is there a book that you could share with us that you feel has made a big impact, or is that the one?
Oh yeah, there's a couple. So Cameron Diaz has another book, longevity book, and that one's interesting too. But also I've been listening to You Are a Badass at Making Money.
Yeah.
I think her name is Jen Sincero or Sincero. But I've been listening to it on Audible, and I'm not through it yet. But being someone that isn't, doesn't really have any experience like with handling money, or, how to, grow your money, or how to organize your, like anything, like being someone that doesn't really have experience with, a lot of income and what to do with that income. She really helps to, she gives you a lot of hope and a lot of inspiration, to be more in that realm. And one of her points that she makes that I really, really liked, and that really helped change my mind on some things, was that she said that a lot of people can feel guilt for wanting to make a lot of money. And I was definitely one of those people, like for many reasons, but like the top one is that I, like I said, feel content with where I'm at, and like I can just make do with what I have. But I was like, who am I to want to make a bunch of money? Like, I don't need it. Like, who am I? Why I feel guilty? And she was talking about that, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so me. And she was saying that, the people that have money are the people that have power. And she was like, if you are one of those good people that have a heart for other people, and you want to help other people, and you want to give, and you want to put better systems in place, and you have big ideas and like limitless ideas for ways that you can help, like you need to be one of those people in power. So like, you need to be one of those people with money. And I was like, I do need to be one of those people. So that kind of helped take away the guilt of, I don't know why it was guilt, but that kind of helped me take away my feeling of guilt for, wanting to be one of those people that make more money. So I was like, this can be me. Like I can do this, and there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I'm excited to continue to work towards being one of those people.
Yeah. And then you can always give more, right? If you have it, you can give more.
Exactly.
Help more. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast today, and I can't wait to hear the feedback from everyone. I know you brought a lot of joy to everyone listening, and I love you so much, and I'm so proud of you, and we'll talk probably in a little while. Because we do talk every day, quite often.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. And
right.
I've been loving this series, and I'm so proud of you for creating something like this and using your creativity in a whole new way that you've never done before. So props to you, sis.
All right, honey. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.